Hey everyone, hey wellness crew. I have been absent for quite some time for the majority of this month. And what I was doing is I was actually taking some time off, dealing with some stuff that was going on in my personal life, and also taking the opportunity to really delve into some exposure therapy, amateur exposure therapy. So this was not under the purview of a therapist or the purview of a coach. I'm a coach, so I was like, oh, I can do this, I know how to do exposure therapy. I've done it before. But this was really hardcore. Like, I hadn't planned on it. I hadn't really planned on doing this. This was kind of an impulse thing. And once I got started, I just could not, I do not speak French. I just couldn't stop. And it was mainly just this idea of let me do something that freaks me out. Let me do something that, or let me expose myself to things that typically I wouldn't expose myself to, or typically I find to be negative, or maybe I find to be limiting, or maybe I find to be whatever. Let me stretch my rubber band a little bit, expose myself to it so that way I can find the tools and resources that I need to have in order to have the exposure to it and not get triggered and not get upset and not of getting all bunched up and getting all stressed out and getting all freaked out and having my cortisol levels get super raised up and getting, just getting into this place that I didn't need to get in and that a lot of us tend to get into when we get into triggering situations. It's not really easy for me to get triggered. I do have a lot of coping mechanisms. I do have a lot of things that I can rely on and tools that I've developed and skills that I've developed because of the fact that I've been on an inner work journey for such a long period of time. But when you're doing exposure therapy on a constant, feeling like it's a constant basis for nearly a month, you know, you're kind of really pushing it. You're kind of really pushing your limits. You're really getting out there and being like, oh my goodness. Thank you very much, Josh. I appreciate that compliment. That's very kind of you to say. So, what did I do? I said, and something that I'm really big on is you have to really be, this is just one of the things. You have to be very, very conscious of the content that you are ingesting, just like with your food, just like with what you're drinking, things like that, right? So we have to be very, very conscious of that, right? That's normally what I'm always talking about. Well, I threw that out the window and I said, okay, I'm just going to expose myself to whatever content is typically out there or things that I used to watch in the past, things that I would label like trashy content or things that I would label as like content that's not going to be positive for my brain typically. Hi. Things that aren't going to be, things that are going to build me up or, be super like self-helpy and all that woo-woo stuff. Um, I just threw it out the window and I was like, okay, let's go. Let's just, do some binge watching. Let's, be a little bit lazier than normal. Let's go. Like let's just go. Let's just see how it is, doing normal stuff and still having to maintain clientele, still having to maintain my coaching clients, still having to maintain, being a mom, still having to maintain, keeping up with my mental health, still having to maintain keeping up with my relationships, still having to maintain keeping up with my family dynamics, still having to maintain keeping up with all these different things, right? Just like you guys have to. So at first I was like, oh, this is great, like, oh yeah, I can just chill, watching some TV, being on my phone. Typically I have this rule where I try not to be on my phone too early or like not like when I first wake up. I try to give myself a little bit of time away from it. Try to give myself a little bit of time away from it, before I go to sleep, having good, habits, having good things. I literally threw so many things that I am always preaching about out the window. So many things. And I'm continuing to do so. Because I was like, what could go wrong? Nothing can go wrong, right? And to be honest, really nothing super crazy went wrong. At first, it was kind of like, whoa, like, oh, I haven't caught up on a lot of stuff that I haven't seen in the past like 3 years, or I'm not used to being able to just like watch something for an extended amount of time, in between, coaching someone or in between doing XYZ. I'm not used to this. So it was a shocker. It was totally different. No, thank you. I do not want that job. So, it was just one of those things where I was like, okay, this is different, but it didn't super like affect me. My cortisol levels weren't super raised. I wasn't super drowning in it. But again, I think part of that was because I had a very good base of having coping skills. I had a very good base of having tools in my toolbox that I could use and rely on. And I think having that developed already is what was able to really keep me in line, right? Keep me like, okay. But I expose myself to the things I normally don't expose myself to. I don't normally eat perfectly because I do not believe in perfection. Hi. I really don't. I don't believe in it. I think progress, always believe in progress. If you want to make progress, if you want to be better, if you want to be a better version of yourself, that's awesome. I support you on that. That's what I'm here for. But I do not believe in perfection. I don't believe in attempting to attain it because I think it is just a waste of time, right? It's just a waste of time. You're going to burn yourself out. So let's just be honest. um, it's great though. It's great to see that. It's great to see stuff, but it's really a lot of it is a lie on social media. A lot of it you're going to be like, oh, wow, like, oh, that person's life looks so perfect. Their life isn't perfect, right? It's a mask. That's just what it is. So back to this whole exposure therapy thing. So I sincerely thought that if I was going to like binge watch a show, that I was going to immediately be incredibly, what if I asked a meaningless surface level question? Um, you can ask a surface level question, that's fine. I'm not sure why that's a problem. um, that's fine. So it's just, hi. Oh, I like that username. That's really interesting. When I was like a kid, I think that movie came out and I was obsessed with it. So that's so funny. Um, so I really thought I was like, oh my gosh, if I binge watch something or if I, am not listening to the most like uplifting and like only like the content that I curate for myself and if I'm not being very careful about the music that I'm listening to, if I'm not being very selective about what I'm allowing to enter my ears, right? Because not only is it going into my conscience, but it's going into my subconscious. Ryan, that's a really good point. So I'm not on a lot of social media. Yes, I'm on YouTube, of course, but I'm not really on social media too much. I got rid of my Instagram because I was rarely on it. Um, I'm just not a really big believer in social media in general. I just, you know, I have a personal one so that way I can connect with my family and they can see pictures of my children, just because we don't all live together and we're all around the world. But outside of that, that's really like the main reason for having it, just for me personally. Um, but as far as having a lot of public social media, it's just not a big thing for me. But anyways, So yeah, so back to kind of just, breaking out of the habits and all these things that I had been doing and having all of these. Absolutely. I just think I agree with you. I think it is too. I think it's better. So having all of these different things that I had been so strict and regimented on, and I was like, this is what I coach to, this is what I believe in. That's an interesting question. I'm half Caucasian and I'm half Hispanic. So interesting question, and I'm comfortable answering that. So, um, but yeah, so I was like, at first I was kind of like, oh, so this is kind of like what other people do. This is just normal. This is just like what people do, and this is the typical stuff. And this is like, you don't have to constantly, and you don't have to cut yourself off from everything. I don't coach to black and white thinking. Oh, thank you so much, Oscar. Oh, hi to Tel Aviv. That is so kind and so sweet. Oh, I'm a big believer. What I will say, oh, I keep getting off topic. I'm so sorry, y'all. What I will say, but I love engaging with people. What I will say is that I so think that engaging in negative self-talk is going to kill and kill and kill all the positive energy that you could possibly be getting and be promoting and be, developing. So as much as you can avoid it, negative self-talk and saying you're ugly and saying things like that, um oh, I look like a comic. Thank you, I appreciate that. It's probably the glasses. I feel like women that wear their glasses and stuff, this is new. I was told how bad my vision was, so they were like, you have to start wearing your glasses now, and I was like, okay. um but anyways, so yeah, that's one thing. I There were certain things I wasn't going to go into. I wasn't going to go backwards with certain things. So thank you very much, I appreciate that. So I wasn't going to go, hi. I wasn't going to go. So, Giant Ant, what I want to tell you is that a lot of times with things like that, because I used to feel that way too. I used to think that people were always avoiding me and people were like giving me weird looks. What I had to learn is that it was a perception thing with me. It was the way that I was perceiving things. It was almost like a paranoia thing with me. It was almost like this idea that I had when honestly people didn't care. People weren't giving me that much attention. People weren't paying attention to what I was doing. People didn't care if I was walking down the street. They were so involved with their own lives, they didn't care. So, I'm not trying to discount your feelings. I am not trying to I no one. I'm really not trying to have a super huge following. I have a niche audience. It is what it is. Also, I've been absent for about a month because I was doing this exposure therapy stuff and I didn't tell anybody. I just kind of bounced. So that's probably part of it. Yeah, people are so in their own heads and people are so in their own whatever. So a lot of it is that, like, I had to realize that, and it took me a really long time. A lot of this was going on mainly when I was in my late teens and my early 20s. I had this idea that people were constantly judging me and constantly just having this idea about me, and I was always like, oh my gosh, so and so is thinking this, or that stranger's looking at me weird, or XYZ and all this stuff. Dude, no one was paying attention to me. No one cared. People were in their own world and their own lives. And I really love that our society created the term RBF because, in all honesty, a lot of us have it. A lot of us just naturally have it. We're not always smiling, or we're not always like I'm smiling right now, and having all that because I'm on camera. But normally, right? So it's like, okay. I don't always look like this. I'm not always like super smiley and super whatever. It's because I'm on camera. So Yeah, I don't like to always like diagnose everything with like intrusive thoughts. It could be, but honestly, a lot of stuff is I got you, giant ant. I completely understand. So I'm from the valley and I had that imposter syndrome because in the valley, so not in California, but here in Texas. In the valley at the time, back in the day, it was a high majority Hispanic people. A lot of my family is Hispanic, so I was the only Weta down there, right? And so it was like, oh, okay, imposter syndrome, right? Imposter syndrome. Everyone's looking at me like, what? Like, why are you acting the way that you're acting, or why are you behaving the way that you're behaving? So it's like, well, you don't know my background, you don't know my family. Hi, Michael. You don't know, my story, and a lot of people don't. But even with that being said, right, a lot of people aren't going to know your story, and don't worry so much about judgment, right? Keep on going out there, keep on being out there. Exactly. And it is possible. Thank you, Ryan, for saying that. Absolutely. It is 100% possible to change your thinking process. Now, when I was doing this exposure therapy, I was so afraid that that's what was going to happen. I thought all of my hard work, all these things I have done, even with my skills, even with the tools in my toolbox, even with everything that I have, I really thought that I was just going to backtrack so much. It's in your brain, sweetheart. Um, I just thought everything was going to crash and burn. And let me tell you, can it? Yes. Do not do this if you have no training in it. Do not do this if you don't have the supervision of like a coach or a therapist, or if you're not being guided along this. Because I am a coach, I felt comfortable doing it. But I do not suggest, if you don't have training in this, if you don't have anything like that, right? Um, then don't do it, right? Yeah, in Spain for sure, or in central Mexico for sure. Um, so definitely you would want to do it under the guidance of, but I'm not suggesting anybody else do this. I'm just sharing my own personal experience for sure. But that was my fear. My fear was I'm going to go back. I'm going to, not be able to come back to my habits. I'm not going to be able to come back into things. What I found is that repeated exposure to the things that I was afraid of, a repeated exposure to the things that made me uncomfortable. Specifically, I will say um, standing up for myself in more, how do I say this? Standing up for myself in ways that were more assertive than I typically am, right? So I do believe in asserting yourself. I always coach to that. I always say, be assertive. But this was like a little bit more assertive even than I typically am. I felt more emboldened, right? And it on the inside, I was totally scared. On the inside, I was like, oh my gosh, hi. On the inside, I was like, no one. That's actually very interesting that you say that. So, um, that is a very hi. That's a very common assumption that people make. People will assume that someone that looks like me, or the way that you think that I look, right, to you, your perception of me in this moment, people will think that I get constant, that it's just constant positive reinforcement. That is totally not true. It really isn't. I can take makeup off, I can just be my regular self, and I have a lot of people in my life that hold me accountable. I have a lot of people in my life. I have a really great support system. I'm very, very grateful to my own partner for holding me accountable to stuff. But Yeah, no, I'm actually not. I mean, maybe like to strangers and stuff like that occasionally sometimes, but I don't really allow people to yeah, people will give me compliments, but I don't really absorb that or take that in. I don't really, for me at least, but I guess everyone has their own perception of it. I'm so used to just not I have like a block up, like a shield up. I don't really absorb all that. I'm like, okay, I'm glad that that's your perception. My perception is I am also a flawed person. I'm like everybody else, right? Anybody can do what I'm doing right now. You can get a camera. You can definitely live stream. You can definitely share your story. You can definitely do what I'm doing, right? It's up to you if you want to tune in or not. I'm so grateful for anybody that wants to participate in live chat. That's amazing. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's great, you know. Um, but this is something that anyone can do, right? You just have to believe in yourself, and you have to believe that you have something worth sharing, and you have to believe that you can connect with other people, and that you have the ability to maybe have something that other people have experienced, right? I think that's the bigger aspect of it. It's not so much about my appearance, it's actually way more about the shared experience and the relatability, right? So, oh, the chair, thank you so much. So this chair, I believe, was made. I did not make it. Could I make it? If I had the patience to, probably. Well, oh, okay. Well, thank you, no one. If that's okay, I will definitely see it. Keith, that's awesome. That is so fantastic. Congratulations on that. um, absolutely. And I think that was part of all this, right? So I knew going into this, I knew going into this whole thing that I knew where I had my struggles. I knew where I felt like, because a lot of this is when I'm saying you need to be careful with what you're intaking, you need to be careful with the content, you need to be careful with, every little thing and look into every little thing, and you want to protect your brain. I mean, it's important to do that. And I still believe in it. Even after going through this, I still believe in it. I know that I felt better when I wasn't just ingesting whatever I wanted, and I wasn't just, consuming whatever content you really wanted. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I definitely need to go to a dentist. Uh, okay. No one that seems a little bit passive aggressive. So, I'm really sorry if I offended you or triggered you in any way, and that I'm sorry if this has in any way triggered you or bothered you, or if my responses have bothered you. I apologize. You know, so I don't know what to do. Um, so, Johnny, yes, you are correct. Okay, understood. So, but yeah, so I was just kind of like, okay, let's just go into this and kind of see what happens. So, definitely, music was one thing that I definitely did. Um, Thank you, I appreciate that um, very much. And music was one thing I did. It was a lot of the content. It being October, we're in Halloween season. I kind of, got so much looser on, this idea of dieting, so much looser on this idea of not so much dieting, but like eating like, clean and eating healthy and being very restrictive on the things or the way that I would eat and things like that. So if when you entry, what should I expect to do? Yoga. Thank you, Keith. I very much appreciate that. Johnny, that's a very good point. I think everybody's different. I do have some beginner level videos that I have. But I think typical things, very simple things, downward facing dog, child's pose, those two are like the go-tos. Very easy. Plank, upward facing dog. Yeah. Oh, that's what you meant, Keith. Okay, so your channel is about the origins of manicures and pedicures. Got you. Okay, that's really interesting. Hi, Mary. Ahimsa, ma'am. Yeah, I just use layman's terms when I'm talking yoga speak. Layman's terms for everything as much as possible. I don't believe in making things very. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. I don't believe in making things overly complicated for people. I don't intend for people to think I'm like extra super smart or anything by using very, specific wording. It's fine. Layman's terms I think are great for everyone and easy to do. Still trying to do a video. Okay. Well, thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Thank you. Um I would say, Keith, that are you editing? Are you using any software or anything like that? Because that was holding me up for a really long time, and something that I know that you have to get to a certain point to I have back pain. Yeah, so I do have some videos on my channel that are targeted toward back pain. So you can definitely go through some of my videos and check them out and see. Thank you, Mary. You can go through and check them out, but there are so many other people on YouTube that have amazingly edited videos, have amazing backgrounds, amazing things. Oh, I see. Got you. Okay. So, there's a lot of people on here. There's a lot of people on YouTube. Thank you, man. I very much appreciate that. There's a lot of people on YouTube that have amazing YouTube videos. If you just search yoga back pain, you will have a whole bunch of people come up, and you'll find the relief that you need, I'm sure. What I should have mentioned is today is the last day of this exposure therapy. um, I am typically not a drinker in any capacity. I am typically, I just not really into it, but I do. Yeah, absolutely, and it's really easy. So, finishing out today with just a little bit of drinking, a little bit of relaxation, a little bit of whatever, trying something different um, to relax since what I typically use, I'm just trying something different, just doing something a little bit different than I normally do, right? Um, having things that associated, right? Certain memories, certain, whatever associated with certain things. So, what exposing myself to it? Allowing myself to be exposed to it, not allowing myself to be triggered by it, or allowing myself to be triggered and not getting not really, Keith. I'm not really into that. Edibles. Yeah, that is what it is, Josh. It is edibles. But it's not very often, but it's just due to my autoimmune disease causing a lot of pain. So, yeah, it just depends. Hi, Edgar. Everyone's different. So, oh, are they? Oh, okay. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, it's different for everyone. Everyone's body's different, and So, it's just trying something different for me, ending today on, that's it. Like, I'm good with ending my it's like a month-ish, right? It's like a month-ish of exposure therapy and kind of getting back into the swing of things, getting back into my routines, getting back into posting like I normally do, getting back into my regular rhythm of things for sure. Um, that's definitely going to be something I'm looking forward to, and something I'm hoping I won't have too much trouble getting back into, right? That's the biggest thing. Um, So I have fibromyalgia, but they also for the longest time have been thinking that it's lupus. And so there's been a lot of like back and forth with my doctors and this and that. So lupus is what the biggest thing has been. My most recent tests have been really wonky and things have been kind of all over the place. So um, but it's a lot of like joint pain, things like that. So I know that, and that was one of the biggest things too, is that I took a step back from doing yoga and I was doing like different types of exercise that I normally doesn't do. Oh, it's fine, Edgar, but thank you so much. I appreciate that. Um, so it's a lot of like what, you know, I just kind of took a step back from a lot of my typical routines, a lot of my typical stuff, thinking that, oh, it's going to be so much more difficult to get back into these things and to get back into whatever and to get back into my like routines that I was doing. But I also had a lot of other stuff going on as well. And I was busy with other things as well. And so, it just kind of all culminated into it just kind of worked out like that. All right. Well, I will say it took a while. Okay. That took a while. I think this was a record. Okay. Um so yeah, so it's there was a lot of fear with that too. It was like as long as this is, the longer that I have this go on, it's going to be so much more difficult. And when you think about it, it's like 1/12 of the year. How am I going to get back onto it? How am I going to? Thank you, Edgar. um, how am I going to be able to, get back into these routines, to get back into whatever? And I just kind of found that my mind, my body is craving it. My mind and my body are craving to get back into the routines that I was into and getting back into, sharing the content that I was sharing and getting back into doing the things that I was doing. And I didn't really know if I didn't know what to expect at the end of this like monthish. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I was going to be like, oh, enjoying, um, kind of, going back to old habits and old ways from like years and years and years ago of remembering what it was like to just in between things, kind of binge a few episodes of XYZ, right? Or listen to some podcasts that I typically wouldn't listen to, or whatever it may be. Um, but now, what I'm seeing is that I have just found this to be very illuminating and I found it to be very helpful. Now, again, I am only talking about my experience. I am in no way suggesting that anybody do what I did. I am in no way suggesting that anybody do exposure therapy on their own, let alone a month of it. Always do this under the guidance of a therapist, of some type of coach, of some type of person that is licensed in this. So, preferably a therapist, right? Um, I just felt comfortable doing it because I've done exposure therapy before in light doses. I'm also a coach, so it's something that I just felt comfortable doing. And it wasn't something that I felt was going to be something I couldn't come back from or something that I wasn't going to be able to have it under my control. So exposure therapy is something that you basically expose yourself to your fears or to triggers or to things that might make you uncomfortable in order to get over that fear or in order to EMDR. That's actually a really great therapy. Yeah. So in order to get yourself into a place of experiencing something that makes you uncomfortable, but you find the resources, you find the tools, or you use the tools that you have already developed previously, you get them into action and you're using them while you're exposing yourself to something that makes you uncomfortable, right? Johnny, I do find that to be a little bit condescending. If we're going to continue to be condescending toward the people that are engaging in the live chat, I'm going to have to remove you from my channel. Okay, so this is just going to be a quick warning. I do have boundaries, and I do like to protect the people that are trying to participate in the live chat. Okay, so let's just get that straight right now. Bree or Bry, whatever it is, that is amazing. That is something to definitely be incredibly proud of. It's not something that's easy to do. It's something that's incredibly difficult to do. So, wow. That is congratulations. Very much congratulations. Hi, Marcel. Hi, Shaden. So that's incredible. So yeah, it was definitely eye-opening. It was definitely something that I wasn't sure, and I really hadn't even planned to do it for a month. It wasn't something that I was, planning on engaging in for an entire month, right? I'm definitely relieved that today's the last day. Definitely relieved that we're, finally. Aw, thank you, Josh. Um, I'm definitely relieved that it's kind of like, okay, back to reality. But what I will say, absolutely, not only is it a pathway, but it is also when you go through uncomfortable things, what are we really getting to? We're getting to growth. Hi, Matt. I'm 36 years old. We're getting to growth. We're getting to things that we maybe don't really want to do. Sometimes we really don't want to grow, but part of growing is getting uncomfortable, right? That's how you grow. You get uncomfortable. You do something. I'm not really going to get too deep into that. I do have children, but no, currently I am not married. No, I have a partner. So yeah, I'm a wellness coach. I did study psychology when I was in college. I did not complete my degree, so I will just go ahead and state that. But I'm a wellness coach, and I do have a lot of fun having my YouTube channel and engaging with people that can't afford to coach with me, and having the ability to. Oh, everyone's entitled to their opinion, Carl. So you're entitled to yours for sure. So yeah, so everyone is. Thank you, Josh. I appreciate that. It's not so much about making people well. That's just the name of my channel, Cult of Wellness. Being a wellness coach is more about helping people on their journey towards wellness. So it's actually people making themselves well. I'm just a guide. I'm just there to help them on their path. It's people that are initiating this on their own. They have to be at their own uh, place of readiness. If they're not at their own place of readiness, I don't take the person on. I have a very high morality and ethics clause for me personally. Feeling good. That was when I was in my early 20s and I had some difficult things going on. So, but okay. And no, I do not take Xanax, but that's interesting. So, let's go ahead and just make this easier for me. Okay. I am drinking, but I am definitely not drunk. That would be lightweight status. Hi, Brago. That's interesting, Johnny. Thank you for sharing that. Right. So typically, it's not so much that it bothers me that much. It's just that I try to not have too much. I try to protect the people that are really wanting to share in live chat only because I know that I only get on here for a limited amount of time. And especially this month because I was doing this and I wasn't engaging as much this month and I haven't been on YouTube as much. Typically people have more time with me. So this is where it's like, okay, you're getting the time for free. This is why I do this. This is what I love to do. Is I love to be able to give back. And so when people kind of want to troll or want to, be negative or distract too much from things, you know, I just try to protect the people that are really wanting to participate. That's my biggest thing. Also, when there's attack on communities, it really bothers me. So, absolutely. Yeah. And it's not about having a normal or non normal response. It's about it's just about protecting the community that I want to create and that I want to have. It's about protecting the people that are here in this moment right now, right? Because I don't schedule my live streams. I just come on when I come on, which I wish I could schedule them, but I just, with my schedule, I just come on when I can. So I try to make the time as precious as I possibly can, and I try to protect everyone as much as I possibly can. So that's kind of the biggest thing for me personally. Um, Hi, DNA. Oh, that's amazing. I'm so glad. Yes, authenticity. Absolutely. Being yourself, being real. That's a very big component of everything this channel is about, right? Just being honest. Hi, James. Just being real, keeping it real, being honest. Thank you. Hi. Um, I a really big thing with me too is that I feel as though I wanted to. So it's just about this idea, this elusive idea of wellness, right? So everyone has their own idea. Absolutely. Yeah, I will definitely, after this, I'll definitely look into your channel. Thank you so much. Um, it's just about this elusive idea of wellness. It's kind of a play on words. This is not a cult in any capacity. It's just about aiming for, being as well as we can be. And that wellness looks different for everybody. What works for me doesn't necessarily mean for you, right? Okay, I think you meant handle. And what does that mean? What do you mean? Elusive is like it it feels unattainable for some people, right? Like we're always chasing this dream of wellness. We're always chasing this dream of like perfection in wellness, like not only mentally but physically and spiritually and in all these different capacities. And what I try to provide is avenues and different pathways to find your piece of wellness for you, your own piece of wellness in those avenues, right? Um, for today, for this moment, for whatever you need it to be, right? Just so you can have it and you can hold it and you can appreciate it in this moment and then move on, right? Carry it with you if you would like to, but then just move on, right? That's it. It's not anything crazy. This is not a cult in any capacity. Although sometimes I joke that I should have a cult. That would be hilarious. I would never do that. I would never do that. But it's just this idea. I mean, truly this idea, and it's so real. It really is real. There's so many people that are chasing this idea of being, so well. I mean, we have it all over YouTube, we have it all over Instagram, we have it all over all the social media platforms, right? This idea of perfection, this idea of perfect bodies, perfect souls, perfect lives, perfect, homes, having a lot of money, having a lot of this, that, XYZ, when really I think the thing that we should want to chase, or at least that we should want to show, is authenticity. Is just being real, just being honest, and just being like, hey, this is where I'm at, and I would like to feel better. And maybe you don't want to feel better. Comparison is the thief of joy. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. Let's see. EB, thank you. You would think with my glasses I'd be able to see better. That was the whole point of this. I was like, okay, please promise me that with my glasses, I won't have to lean in towards my camera and have to really like see everything clearer again. So much for that. But yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, you know, right, James, exactly, right? We all have our different reasons. We all have our different reasons for the things that we do. I would really love to hope, but they look cool, right? Yeah. That really wasn't the point. The point was to be able to see better. I wanted really big lenses so I could like be able to look around and have everything covered. That was the only point. I wanted big glasses. Search for beat. I'm not sure what that means, Johnny. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. Um, Master Prestige, I think that there is some truth to what you're saying, but I also think that there are some people that would like honesty. But I think that the way that we deliver honesty is a really big part of it, right? Do we need to give radical honesty to everyone at all times? I don't think so. I think we can give honesty with loving kindness. And I think that we can give honesty with, um, you know, just that. And I think that that is how it can be accepted a little bit easier. So, it just kind of depends really on everyone's version. And that's the thing, everyone's perception is so different. And that's what's been so interesting about this particular live stream. Like, this particular group of people has been so incredibly amazing because everyone's perception has been so unique and so different. And I'm just so grateful to all of you. I mean, honestly, I really am, because everyone has had really different insights and really different views. And I'm so glad for you guys, because it's really made me think like, oh, okay, we have some like really interesting thinkers. We have some really interesting, different, diverse people that are on this live chat. And I love it. I mean, it really is amazing. I don't follow a singular religion per se. I guess the closest thing would probably be Christianity to an extent. I do talk a lot about the gene keys and human design, mainly the gene keys, in a lot of my live streams. But that's not really a religion. It's more of just like a personal development, spiritual development kind of thing. So that would probably be the closest thing, I guess, would be Christianity. Yeah. Um, but not exactly. I really don't say that I don't really put down that I follow a specific one simply because of the fact that there's always things that everybody wants to pick and choose from. So if you want to put me in any type of category, you can't really, because there's always going to be things I'm going to be nitpicky about. Hi, Chris. Hi, too. So no, that's really interesting. Hi from Scotland. Wow, super cool. So yeah, I just think that definitely exposure therapy is something that everyone get offended. Master procedure, that is something that is a very good perspective for sure, right? I think that that's a really good perspective to have. Um, I don't necessarily agree 100%, but I do agree like 75%. So, yeah, definitely. Right. Yeah. Working hard for your family. That's a great mindset to have. And I would definitely say working hard for yourself as well. Right. Definitely knowing that you want to work hard for yourself as well and not only have it based on other people, but have it based on working hard for yourself as well and including yourself in that. Yeah. Right. Because we want to definitely be a part of that. We want to definitely be a part of um, the whole concept of working hard, the whole concept of us being our authentic selves, right? Is us, is the me, the I. So we can definitely do stuff for our families, we can definitely do stuff for other people, we can definitely do stuff for everyone else, but you don't want to forget about the I. You don't want to forget about the me. I think that that is important. Yeah, I don't think it's so much about selfishness. I think it's just about recognizing that there is an I and recognizing that there is a me. It's not about being self focused solely, it's just about recognizing that there is an I. 100%. I agree. I agree with you on that one. 100%. Yeah. hmm I definitely have to contribute for my family. So 100%. hmm I agree with you. But I think I think everyone has a different point of view. And where I come from is from a place of love. So I just think that when you're able to love yourself, right, then you're able to love others better. And hi, Explore. And so I think that when you love yourself, you love others better. That just makes you a better provider. That makes you a better entrepreneur. That makes you a better person. People don't, yeah, 100%. Yeah, people really don't respect their employers enough. They don't, and it definitely depends on how big the business is. But a lot of times people just aren't thinking about all the steps that it takes and all the work that it takes to grow a business. And depending at the level that you're at, it it's really tricky and it's really hard. So I can definitely understand. What are your thoughts on a high value man? I have a video on that. So you can definitely go and watch that video for sure and see what my thoughts are. Or it might be a live stream. One of the two. I have about 5 minutes left, so if there's any more questions or anything, it can be on topic, it can be off topic. If there's anything that is too off topic, though, I may not feel comfortable answering it. So, oh, you watched it? Oh, yeah. No, my that's I still feel the same way. Yeah. That's nice, Kevin. That's funny. Um, I really think that it's good to find value in yourself, whether you're a man or a woman. I think that if you consider yourself to be high value, if you consider yourself to be someone who is capable of being able to not only take care of yourself, but take care of others, kind of like what you were talking about, Master Prestige, that's part of being a high value man. So the things that you're saying are nerdy, I mean, that's kind of what I had talked about in that video. So it's just terminology that you're kind of saying is nerdy, if you want to think about it. Sorry, I'm married. Absolutely, but I think that a label can be something that someone wants to try to attain to, right? It's kind of like using layman's terms for certain things. I love using layman's terms, you know? No, not just work and be successful. I was just using that as a component to relate it to master prestige. Yeah. It's not just about that. It's about also having emotional intelligence. It's also about being a caring person. It's also about having respect, you know? Having respect is such a big component of it and such a big aspect of it. Um, so the stuff that I said. Although I will agree, actions do speak louder than words. So making that effort, putting the extra effort in. Well, it might have been for something that you said that I found would be offensive to the community. So, or trolling. So, yeah. I have boundaries. There are boundaries for this community, and um, clearly, I mean, you wanted to come back since you're using another account or an alt account. So, no, I don't accept trolling. Although they do need help. And I'll deal with it to a certain point. But after a certain point, I have my boundaries, and I think that if I'm not asserting my boundaries, then I'm not serving my community well. So, because then I'm not practicing what I'm preaching. All right, I have about a minute left. Is there any other questions? Anything I can answer for anybody? I really hope that everyone found this to be helpful, and I am so grateful to everybody that was participating. I feel like this was a very interesting live chat. I really enjoyed getting to hear a lot of different people's discussions, a lot of different people's perceptions. And I think it's really interesting how we all view different things. And I also think um, what I will say is that our interpretation of language and our interpretation of what things mean can be very different. So sometimes we're saying the same thing, we're just using different words. And we might actually just be agreeing. We just don't know that we are because we're just trying to kind of feel it out. So I don't really find it to be a bad thing to be having a back and forth discussion. I think it's important to have that. I think it's really important to have that, right? If we can't have a dialogue, what are we doing? If we can't have a discussion, what are we doing? That's the whole point. Why I want to have live chats, right? Thank you so much. I appreciate that. But honestly, right? That's what this is for. That's what these live chats are for, right? Maybe you can't afford to coach with me. That's okay. The whole point is we want to be, or I would like to be able to engage with my community. I would like to be able to have real discussions with my community about things that matter to them. So even if that takes us off topic, that's okay. It doesn't bother me because I want to know what's on your mind, because I want to know what is important to you when it comes to certain things, when it comes to different ideas, when it comes to different topics. I love to know these things. It's important to me. It means a lot to me because yes, I would love for this channel to grow. I don't want it to grow massive, but it's a niche channel. But I would love to, have it grow, and I would love to have people that, are not necessarily like minded. I want there to be back and forth. I want there to be growth. I want there to be, you know, growth towards wellness or growth towards becoming more authentic, your own real self. And we can always learn from each other. So, thank you so much for joining me for today's live stream. I appreciate you guys so much. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and or join one of the membership tiers as it is popping off with content. And I will see y'all on the next live stream or video. Be well, stay wild as well.